Nicki Minaj once again lit up the internet after calling her United Nations appearance a quote MAGA flex, doubling down on her growing allegiance with President Donald Trump and taking a fresh swipe at Jay-Z in the same breath. Now, her tweet came just days after she stood before world leaders in New York and thanked Donald Trump for focusing on what she called violent attacks on Christians in Nigeria. Nikki jumped on X in what is now a deleted post. Interesting. And she wrote, United Nations was a flex. I'm sorry, United Nations was a MAGA flex. Trump on the text. Y'all should be afraid of what I'm going to do next. Now, if you're a hip hop head, you know that she was flipping that old Jay-Z bar about Obama, a move that hits even harder because Nikki, as you may know or may not know, has been publicly jabbing at Jay-Z for months now. The line landed like a shot across the world. Politics and rap. So really two worlds were absolutely impacted by this. And I'll tell you why. Anyway, her UN speech ran only a few minutes, but it made waves. Nikki said that she was nervous, which I understand. She then thanked Donald Trump for prioritizing this issue and pushing for, quote, urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria. She told the room that faith should never be a death sentence, and she framed the situation as a humanitarian crisis, not a political divide. We don't have to share the same beliefs in order to respect each other, she said. Agreed. Now, Ambassador Mike Waltz, he praised her as a principled artist who was using her fame to speak out against injustice. Nikki said she was honored to be trusted with a platform that big. She also thanked Donald Trump earlier this month for putting Nigeria on a watch list. Now, here's where it got interesting, and we've talked about this. Nigeria's government says the Trump team is exaggerating. And researchers say the violence in Nigeria is driven by politics, land, and economic instability more than it's being driven by religion. They warn that framing it as a Christian only persecution oversimplifies a conflict in which Muslims, Christians, and entire communities have all suffered. Her weapons have already triggered backlash, celebration, and concern about how celebrity influence is being weaponized in an election cycle where every single vote will count. What happens next is whether Nikki keeps leaning into this new political persona, whether Donald Trump amplifies her even more, and whether her fans and critics reshape the conversation as the midterms heat up. I've been talking a lot about this, mainly because I've been asked to talk a lot about this. And again, I want to reiterate, no beef with Nicki Minaj, number one. Number two, huge fan of Nicki Minaj. Huge fan. I think she's one of the greatest rappers the world's ever seen. Not one of the greatest women rappers, just one of the greatest artists we've seen. It's one of the greatest rappers of her generation. I also don't assume she's cynical here. I don't assume that she's doing this for some political angle or she's trying to get a pardon for somebody or other things. I don't assume that. It's all on the table as a possibility, as is for everybody. But we shouldn't hold Nikki to a different standard than anybody else. We shouldn't make our judgments more harsh or more prematurely than we do for anybody else. We shouldn't assume that this is about drugs or mental illness or all the other things that people online have said about her. We can't take anything off the table, but we shouldn't assume that that's what's happening here. Nikki could really care about this issue and could honestly be pushing this issue forward. Let's assume that that's the case. Let's assume that's the case. What she is echoing is a right-wing talking point. Now, there's nothing wrong with that if the right-wing talking point is correct. You shouldn't not say something or not fight for something just because Republicans care about it. Do what's right no matter what. But based on the expert opinions that I've encountered, based on the research that I've seen and read, I haven't done anything personal, but I've consulted people who are experts in this area. And more importantly, I consulted people who are experts from Nigeria and on the ground in Nigeria. And when I talk to them and when I hear them talk, it seems to me that Nikki got it wrong. Now, Nikki's not alone in getting it wrong. But I think Nicki's being sincere. I think there are people on the right who know that what they're doing is exaggerating. They know that this is or misrepresenting as well. They know that yes, Christians are being harmed right now, but it's not fundamentally because they're Christian. This is a battle over land. This is a battle over power. This is a battle over access. This is a resource fight. Yeah, half the country's Christian, but half the country's Muslim. So yeah, if you go region to region, yes, it will predominantly or disproportionately impact one group, religious group or ethnic group or tribal group over another. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the reason why it's happening. The reason why this is important is not to say, what about the Muslims or what about the atheists or what about? It's not that. This is not an all lives matter situation. This is to say that whatever is going on needs to be fixed, and it can't be fixed if you misunderstand what's happening. And to make this a religious fight is to misunderstand what's happening. That's all. But then Nicki takes it to another level because Nicki Minaj does go on Twitter and do the, Obama on the text, except it's a MAGA reference and it's a Trump reference. She's bragging about her influence with MAGA. She's showing how big she's becoming in the right-wing movement. She's not wrong. Now, again, that doesn't mean that Nicki has done anything wrong per se. However, we got to at least ask why she's doing it. Are you bragging about the MAGA flex to be sarcastic and funny because people are accusing you of being MAGA? Maybe. Are you sincere in your position and can't do anything about who supports you in that position and you're just pointing it out? Again, ironically, sardonically, cool. But you got to say something about that because it gets confusing. Or are you really bragging about being MAGA? Nicki's not a liar. If Nicki is honest and Nicki is a truth teller and Nicki is sincere and Nicki is principled and she's saying what she's saying, I'm going to take Nicki Minaj at her word that she really is proud of being supported by Trump, that she's proud of being in the conversation with the right wingers, that she is intentionally engaging MAGA talking points. I'm not just talking about on this issue. I mean, there's some other things that have come up in the last few weeks, as you all know, that are part of the same conversation and part of the same sort of body of conversations. If this is all true, if it's all true, we got some problems with Nicki's approach. Anyway, we'll let the jury decide whether Nicki's really down with MAGA or not. But based on what we've seen and heard, it seems like she is. And for me, that's a problem. Again, people have a right to believe what they want, but we have a right to disagree.